Power Hour. We are joined today by Dr. Armstrong Mensa. Some of you may know her, some of you may not, but please let me introduce you to our undergraduate program director who is over in the Health Policy and Behavioral Science Department. And today she's going to talk to us about preparing for a successful job interview. As you know, I know that, with the Public Health Power Hours, we've been just gearing up, making sure that you have all the tools and resources that you need as you're entering the public health workforce. But most importantly, we are at a different time in all of our lives. So it's great to stay prepared so you don't have to get prepared later. So with that being said, I am going to hand it over to Dr. Armstrong Mensa. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ivali. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Armstrong Mensa, Clinical Associate Professor with the Georgia State University School of Public Health Department of Health Policy and Behavioral Sciences. Now, if you've been invited to an interview, it means the employer has seen something in your application and wants to talk with you. Now, while this is something to celebrate, you need to prepare to ace the interview. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you with practical tips on how to prepare for and ace an interview. It is also to draw your attention to some common interview mistakes to avoid, provide guidance on what to do to follow up after an interview, and how to answer tough interview questions. So in the next few minutes, I'll be providing you with information on what an interview is and the types of interviews, what interviewers are looking for, how to prepare for an interview, tips for successful interviews, common interview mistakes, next steps after an interview, how to answer those tough interview questions, and then I'll open the floor to answer any questions that you may have for me. Yeah, so let's begin. I'd like to make this as interactive as possible. And I'm not able to see the Q&A, but Ivali, I'm going to depend on you. How would any of you define an interview? Definition of interview. Anybody? I'm not looking for bits and pieces like characteristics of it, but what is an interview? Anybody? And put it in the chat and Ivali will pick it up for me. Do we have any responses in there?
Not yet. Not yet.
In very simple terms, what would you say it is?
And you all are free to take yourself off of mute if it's easier to just chat it out.
Mm-hmm. Is there a
Okay,
response?
somebody is saying getting to know about the candidate. Vivian says it's an oral test.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll take those two for now. So yes, let me build on what you just said. Thank you very much for your contribution. So in very simple terms, an interview is a formal discussion between a candidate and an employer during which the candidate demonstrates why they should be hired. Yeah? All right, so want to take a look at various types of interviews. So there are various types of interviews. It is good to know what they are so you can be better prepared to increase your chances of success, as each type has a unique format and has its own set of expectations. On the screen are 6 types of interviews. A one-on-one interview is a formal meeting between a job candidate and a hiring manager or an HR professional. A group interview is a type of interview where multiple candidates are interviewed simultaneously, one by one or by several interviewers. During the interview, the interviewers may ask each candidate a question individually, ask the group questions, or ask the group to perform activities that require cooperation. During this process, communication, teamwork, and stress management skills are assessed. Group interviews are conducted when employers are looking to hire a lot of people within a short time frame. With the panel interview format, candidates are interviewed by multiple interviewers from various departments in a company simultaneously. The purpose is to save time and to allow for collaboration, among the various interviewers seated at the table. A lunch interview is an interview that is conducted while the candidate and the interviewer are sharing a meal at a restaurant, a cafe, or a public eating place. Now, during the interview, the interviewer pays attention to the candidate's answer to questions, social skills, personality, and the management of informal conversation. A behavioral interview focuses on past experiences and how one behaved in different situations. This type of interview is used by employers to assess behavior and to predict future performance. Questions associated with this type of interview usually start with, tell me about a time when X, Y, and Z happened, right? A remote interview is a two-way conversation that takes place, via phone or video conferencing technology. The purpose of this type of interview is to assess the ability of a candidate to perform efficiently in a virtual environment. Okay, so what are interviewers looking for in a candidate? I'd like to hear from you at this point as well. What do you think interviewers are looking for when they bring you to the table and say, I'd like to hear from you with regards to this particular position? What are they looking for? Anybody? Can you put your responses in the chat? What are they looking for? Ibali, any answers in the chat for me?
Nothing in the chat yet. No.
Okay.
Okay, so some people are saying people skills, competency, empathy, communication skills. Let's see who fits the job the most, a great fit for the company, experience, relevant skills.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you also very much for your contributions. Yes, interviewers are looking for several things, including people who are confident and have a clear idea of what makes them an asset. Good critical thinkers who can both independently and, work with people in a group to solve problems. They are looking for people with relevant experience and soft skills germane to the job, such as empathy, integrity, dependability, creativity, and adaptability. Other qualities employers look for are good work ethics, such as the ability to work hard, respect for deadlines, good organization and time management skills, dependability, responsibility, and the ability to achieve set targets. Computer skills, specifically proficiency in word processing, spreadsheets, social media, data visualization, email communication, and interpersonal skills are additional things that are looked for. All right, so preparing for an interview. How should one prepare for an interview? I'm coming back to you again. Any ideas? You're going to an interview, you've received that email, you've received that communication, you're excited. How should you prepare for that interview?
Okay, someone is saying research the company.
Exactly. Good point. Any others?
Yeah, same thing, knowing what the company is about, what they're looking for. Doing a mock interview.
Oh, that's great as well.
Yeah, preparing.
Okay. Okay, those are great ideas. Let me share what I have with you. All right, so you should make time to consider your qualifications relative to the position and the employer. Carefully review the job description to see if you have the right qualifications, qualities, and background the employer is looking for, and have a good understanding of why you want the job. Be prepared to explain your interest in the opportunity and why you are the best person for the position. Research the company, some of you just said that. Us doing this will not only provide a context for your interview conversations, but will also help you come up with good questions to ask the interviewer. Researching the company will also give you an edge over the competition, and that's what we all want, right? It is important to practice how you talk and maintain a good posture. Practice with trusted friends or family members for feedback. You may also practice in front of a mirror. Only thing is you're not going to get feedback, but at least you'll see your reflection. Also research commonly asked interview questions and rehearse your responses to those questions. I did that a lot when I was interviewing for my very recent role, right? It's always good to check what questions could they possibly ask me and what would I say when they ask me so I'm not stammering, so that I come across convincing. Yeah? All righty. So let's look at some tips for successful interviews, right? So let's begin with what is good to do during an interview. Dress conservatively. Why am I saying that? Why should you dress conservatively? Any response? Why can't I go and then show cleavage and then it's so short and my skirt or my my dress is so short and my pants are sagging. Why should I dress conservatively? Anybody? Why should we do this? Any ideas? Ibali, any responses for me?
No responses just yet. No, not
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
Okay. Sordaha says one should always look presentable. Someone else says to eliminate any form of biasness.
Yeah.
That's all we have so far.
Okay, I'll take those. Yes, you've got to dress conservative so you present a good image of yourself, I mean, from the very beginning. Pay attention to personal grooming and cleanliness, such as body odor, hair, and nails if you like to gesture. Know the exact time and location for your interview. Arrive at least 10 minutes prior to the interview start time. Treat all people you encounter with courtesy and respect. Administrative assistants and receptionists also have first impressions and frequently will share their opinions with the interviewer. Offer a firm handshake, show a positive attitude, maintain good eye contact, respond to questions, and back statements with specific examples wherever possible. Ask for clarification if you don't understand a question. There's no sense in just trying to say what you think you heard. When you know very well that you didn't hear the question, ask. There's nothing wrong with that. Let them clarify, right? Don't ramble, be honest, because dishonesty gets discovered. It will catch up with you. And then have a list of intelligent questions to ask the interview at the end of the whole session. All right, now to the don'ts. Don't falsify application materials or arrive late. Don't give the impression that you are only interested in the salary, right? Avoid asking questions about salary and benefits until it is brought up. Don't act as though you are desperate for the employment. You may be, but don't let them see that because you don't know what is going to have negative implications. Don't be unprepared or refer to the interviewer as dude because now you feel very comfortable. Be careful not to slouch or sit so rigidly at the edge of your chair. It is not okay to chew gum or slurp any drinks you brought or are offered. Most workplaces are smoke-free environments and nobody wants to hear you when you slurp that drink, right? So you've got to be very careful how you manage those things. Might be better not to even bring any drink so that you can just focus and give the best version of yourself during the conversation. All right. So let's look at some common interview mistakes. Yeah. So what are some common interview mistakes that we ought to be mindful of? Well, answering a call during an interview, you don't want to do that, right? It's not okay not to have any information whatsoever about the organization or the company that you are applying to. Don't daydream or lose your focus. You can't go in an interview not having read over your resume. Your resume is what you say you've done. It's pretty much a documentation of your knowledge, your skills, your experiences. So you ought to familiarize with them before you go there. So when they ask you something, you're not like, oh, and where did that come from? It just makes it very clear that you didn't really even review your resume before you came. Don't talk too much, as it may be seen as a lack of self-awareness or an inability to listen effectively. Don't chew gum. Yeah, you say, well, I'm trying to clear my breath. Well, brush your teeth and use some mouthwash before you get there, right? Because if you choose gum, if you chew gum during the interview process, it's going to be perceived as unprofessional and disrespectful. And do not talk negatively about past employees. Yeah, maybe you had a bad experience where you were before and that's why you left. But don't do that because if you start talking negatively about them, it's going to create a negative impression about you. And if you don't send a thank you note after the interview, well, it may cost you the opportunity to stand out, right? You always want to send something, and I'll talk about that shortly. Yeah? Okay. So what are the next steps after an interview? You've been to that interview, you've had the conversations, you've left the space. Now what next? All right. Send a thank you note within 24 hours of the interview. This will show your interest in the position and will demonstrate that you value the interviewer's time and effort. If in the note, restate your interest in the position and thank the interviewer for their time and consideration. It's okay to reference your conversation and briefly share your qualifications for the position again. I've done that a few times. Ask if additional materials are needed. And remember to include your contact information in the note so that way, if they want to get back to you, I mean, it's right there very quickly, they can reach you. Remember to include, contact information. I said that already. And then gently steer the conversation towards next steps, right? If no communication is received within the time frame they told you you'd be hearing from them, send them a polite email, and ask them, I've been waiting, and I think at the interview you said after 2 weeks I was going to hear from you. It's about 3 weeks now, 4 weeks now. Just, writing to follow up to find out what the status of things are with regards to my application. Now, the hiring process can take time. So the best thing at this point is if it's delaying, just don't worry, stay positive, and then be patient and wait. These things take a while. All right, so the next thing I want us to, the next few minutes, I'd like us to dedicate to answering tough interview questions. Now, rather than me just providing you with the answers, I'm going to put up the answer question. I'm going to ask you what you would do if you had that question to answer. How would you answer it? And then I'll share the tips. That way, I think will be more helpful. Yeah. So I have 10 tough interview questions on the screen, and we're going to take them one by one. I'm going to ask you how you would answer that particular question, and then I'll follow up with tips on how you can best answer the question or those questions. Okay, so let's begin with question number 1. They ask you this all the time. Tell me about yourself. This is not where you're telling them that you tell them your hobbies and the fact that you like to watch this movie. No, they're asking you, they're looking for specifics. So again, Ivali, if you could please help me out. What are students saying to this question? Tell me about yourself. What would you say? How would you answer this question?
We haven't gotten any responses in the chat yet.
Okay. Students are thinking.
Yeah. Okay, Lauren said this is the time to provide an overview of your work history. Correct.
Okay, that's a good starting point. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Any others?
They're saying this is a great time to provide your name, educational background, your work history, education and strengths.
Okay, those are good things. Yeah. Here is what I'm good. Here are some tips. Yeah. So to answer this question, choose the right starting point. Introduce yourself and explain what you do, like you just said. Highlight impressive experience and accomplishments. Talk about your past work experience, key responsibilities, and skills, right? Conclude by explaining your current situation. Mention your relevant achievements and explain how your strengths can contribute to the company that you're applying to. But make sure to keep your response very short and concise, not more than 2 minutes. Yes, you don't want to be talking too much to lose the person. All right, question number 2. Why do you want this job? Why should we hire you? This is a common question they'll ask. And if you don't get it right, you could not be considered for the job. How would you answer this question? Anybody?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Okay.
Nothing yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They said, tell them about my skill set and align it with the job description.
Exactly. That's a great thing to do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There isn't any other.
There aren't any others?
Okay. Nope.
That's okay. I can work with that. So here are some tips. So to answer this question, explain why you are a good fit for the job by customizing and aligning your qualifications, experience, and achievements with the job description, right? And what was just said, what Ivali just read to me is also a good thing to do. What are your strengths, right? This is where sometimes, it's tricky. Yeah, you want to say what your strengths are, but you've got to be careful not to brag, right? So regarding this question, you want to highlight your social soft skills. If the job requires collaboration, empathy, communication, or active listening skills, talk about them, right? Focus on the job requirements and tailor your answer accordingly, and then use evidence to support your strengths, what you say you've done and what you're good at. Yeah? All right. Question number 3. What is your weakness? Now, this is where people kind of like don't know what to say. And there are times when people say, well, I don't know that I have any weakness. No, that's not true. We all have weaknesses. Yeah, we all have weaknesses. Here, talk about a weakness that will not jeopardize your ability to perform the job you are interviewing for. If they say the position requires some project management skills, don't start by saying, well, I have a weakness when it comes to project management. Well, when you say that, well, you've just doomed yourself, right? So don't do that. Talk about a weakness that does not jeopardize your ability. And then describe the steps you took to overcome that weakness, and then share how identifying that weakness has helped you going forward. This was the weakness. This is what I did to overcome the weakness. Now I'm better off because I identified that weakness. I worked towards it. Now I even have another skill that I'm going to bring into your company. Makes you look good when you say that. Question number 4, how do you handle conflict? Let me turn it to you and ask you, if you were asked this question, what would you say? How do you handle conflict? Anybody? And again, you can't say, oh, well, me, I don't, where I work, oh, it's a very nice place, or I don't experience conflict. No. Share something. Anybody?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet, okay?
Nothing
Means they're
yet.
thinking. Anything said so far?
No, nothing yet.
Okay, let me address this then. I know you're thinking, yes? All right. So to answer this question on how you handle conflict, highlight communication. You could mention that most workplaces, end up with conflict situations because sometimes there's miscommunication or there's lack of communication. And then you want to go ahead and share a relevant example. Describe how you handle a conflict situation, focusing on the steps you took to address the issue. Be honest. Yes, be honest. If you realized your opinion was wrong during the conflict, admit it and show a willingness to learn. Use the STAR formula. Describe a real life example using the situation, task, and action and result approach. Yeah? Tell us, this was a situation. I tried to take ownership. I worked through it. And now, and because of that, we were able to move forward and get the job done. Yeah? All right. Question number 6, how do you handle stress? And I know I've asked some of you who've taken my study abroad, who are going to go to Ghana with me or who have been to Ghana with me. I've asked you this question before. How do you handle stress? There are several ways to answer this question, but here is a tip, or here are some tips. Focus on the successes you have had dealing with stress. Share a specific example and then list the specific steps you took to manage the stress, and then talk about what you have learned from that stressful situation. Again, you're telling us what the situation was, what you did to address the stress, and how that's of benefit to you now. Yeah? Okay. Number 7, what are your goals in the next 5 years? How would you answer this question? Anybody? It's a little tricky, right? You're like, well, I haven't even started the job yet, and you're asking me what are my goals in the next 5 years? What are some things you think you should throw into that answer? When you're answering, what should you be saying? What should you be highlighting? Anybody? And remember, I mean, it's a conversation we are having, so you're not going to be judged for what you're saying. Anybody?
John is asking a question to your question. He's asking, is this pertaining to where you see yourself job-wise?
Well,
Yes.
they might just ask you, and I was asked this question, sometimes it's just general, right? So how would you, if you had this question, how would you answer it? Just as it is posed.
Someone says, share what you hope to achieve at this job. Talk about ways you can grow professionally in the company. Yeah, it's a few things. You could talk about the ways you want to grow professionally in general as well.
Yep.
Let's see, you can talk about certifications you want to get, focus on skill and development.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, those are some good answers. Yeah.
Yep, right on point. Great things you've shared, right? Great things. And here are my tips, and I'm sure they align with what you've just said. In answer to the question, be specific about your career growth, your aspirations, and how they align with the company's goal. Because see, you don't want to come up with your goals that have nothing to do with the company. Then you're going to say, but are you coming here are you using this place as a stepping stone? So you just want to make sure that they align with the company's goals. Then highlight the skills and experiences you plan to develop to achieve those goals while you're within that company. And then show enthusiasm and commitment to both your personal growth and the company's success, right? So everything you say, this is what I'm looking to get, but I'm trying to do it while I'm in here. That is, if you do hire me, and if I do get this personal growth and I meet my aspirations, all of this together will benefit the company. Then they look at you and they say, wow, this person is not here just to test the waters or to use this place as a stepping stone, but they really mean good, right? They're thinking of developing themselves and making that benefit the company. All right. What experience do you have that is relevant to this position? This is another question that they ask. You know, sometimes you sit there, you're like, how do I best answer this question? Here are some tips. When asked about your experience during a job interview, it's an excellent opportunity to showcase your skills, accomplishments, and how they align with the position you're applying for. Begin with a quick summary of your professional background. Highlight the key points that are most relevant to the job you're applying for. If possible, use specific numbers to showcase your success. So when I joined this company, one of the things I was asked to do was to increase the number of people who did XYZ. Well, by the time it was time to do my assessment, I had doubled the number. It used to be this number. By the time I was leaving, it was that number. They look at you and they say, wow, we want that person. We don't want that person we don't want to miss this opportunity, right? Now, if possible, explain how your previous roles have prepared you for the position you're applying for. Mention any transferable skills or relevant knowledge you've gained, right? And this is a question. The next question I'm going to ask you is a question that students have come to me and asked me several times. They're saying to Dr. Mensah, why is it that when we apply for jobs, they're asking us, or we apply to jobs, they're asking us if we have experience when they know that the position is an entry-level job? How would you answer this question? What should you say when they ask you about your lack of work experience? What should you say? Your thoughts, your ideas.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. It's coming.
Nothing yet. Yep, it's coming. And if we don't have anything, I'll add that you could really hone in on your transferable skill sets, things that are more soft skilled in nature.
Okay, that's a good starting point. Now,
yes.
Are there any responses, or else I'll share what I have?
Nothing else. Nope.
Nothing yet. Okay, great. All right. So when asked about your lack of work experience, let them know that you're confident in your ability to tackle something new. Just because you've never done something doesn't mean you can't do it. And it surely doesn't mean that you can't excel at it, right? Give an example of how you learned something new. But you've got to prepare examples in advance. And that's why we say try and research some questions beforehand. This question they might ask. So just make sure that you have some examples that you can share. Now, one thing I want to say here is that employers are not expecting entry-level applicants to have any or much work experience. All they are looking for is potential, right? Not proving skills. The interviewer wants to know how well a candidate understands what they'll be doing, what transferable skills the candidate possesses that will help their company succeed, and what the candidate has in terms of mindset, and whether they can learn and whether they can grow within the company, right? So it's not a question to throw you off. It's not a dumb question. It's just because they just want to learn some things, from you or about you. Question number 9, what are your salary expectations? Now, this is a great one, right? We're going into the job because we want money. We want to be paid properly. But then how do you address this question? How do you answer this question so that you're not going to end up in a situation where, okay, you said something that causes them to underpay you, or you overprice yourself and you don't get the job? Let's think about this for a moment. How would you answer this question? What are your salary expectations? How would you answer this question? Any questions for me? Sorry, any responses?
No, not right now.
Not right now, okay.
Not right now. Yeah. Nothing in the chat right now.
Nothing in the chat right now? Okay, that's okay. It's a tricky question anyway. And you've got to know how to answer it properly so that you don't overprice or underprice yourself, right? So here you go. Here are some tips, right? So it's good to research industry standards and salary ranges for similar positions in your field and location before the interview, and to also consider your own value and what you need to live comfortably. How much is enough, right? Okay, so maybe you think if they paid you 60,000 a year would be fine after taxes, right? So is that okay? So then you're going with that mindset that if you go and they're saying they're going to pay you something less, like, I'm not really comfortable with that. That may not be the job that I want to end up with. Then during the interview, redirect the conversation by asking about the company's budget. You can say to them, well, thank you very much for bringing up this question. This position is new. I've read the job description. I don't know what other duties will be expected of me as I start to do this work. In the past, what have you paid how much have you paid somebody in this role, and what is your budget? Now, when you say that, you deflect the question. It's no longer in your court, but it's in theirs, and they'll be forced to tell you how much they might be willing to pay. And that is where you can begin to, in your mind, say to yourself, okay, is this comfortable for me? Is it not comfortable for me? And then you can ask, well, can we negotiate, right? And then you end up with something that works for you. Yeah. All right. And then the last but not the least question, they might ask you, why is there a gap in your employment? Maybe you started working and then you stopped and you went to school. Or maybe you started working and then life happened and then you've been away from work and now you're going back to work, right? Very interesting question, but it's very tricky. You've got to be careful how you answer this. Be honest. Explain the context for the job loss. Why, what happened? If you were fired, be honest about it, right? If you had to stop work to take care of a family member that was not well, tell them that yes, you were working and then you became the caretaker and you couldn't balance the two, so you decided to stop and take care of the family member. But anyway, while you were providing that service, you learned a lot of things, which you believe will help you going forward with any other task that comes up with regards to XYZ, right? And then state what you did during the gap and how you turned the gap into an advantage. Focus on accomplishments. When I was between jobs at the time, I had a small gap, but that was the gap that I used to write my global health textbook. So if you asked me that, oh, I see that maybe within a few months you were not necessarily working, what was happening? And I said, yes, because I wanted to finish my global health textbook. And that's the book I'm using now to teach my students. And then they see that you were not just there doing nothing. Yeah. Alrighty. So this is a short video that Ivali will send to you. Ivali, can you put the link in the chat for students? We are not going to go over this. These are 21 tough interview questions that this man is trying to help you answer, help you prepare yourselves to be able to answer. In the interest of time, we will not play this, but when you get the link, I'm going to ask you to make time and play, the link, listen to the video and listen to what he's saying. He's very, very passionate about what he's saying, and he knows what he's saying. Yeah. All right. So thank you for coming. Are there any questions for me? Okay.
Nothing yet, but this was really helpful. Everybody has asked if you could provide the PowerPoint for their resources.
Yes, I'll do that. I'll do that. Any questions? None?
No, just thank you. Thank you so much. That's what everybody's saying now.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Very, very informative.
Okay.
And insightful. Very helpful, very insightful.
Oh, Vivian Francis. Good to see Vivian. Vivian used to be in School of Public Health.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody loved it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. This is great. This is great. We're going to make sure that this video is inside of our Public Health Power Hour vault. We are moving all of the videos online, and I will make sure that once I get the official link for you all from our marketing team, I will make sure everyone has all of the new links and resources for all of the videos that we've had so far.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Looks like, yeah, everybody's saying thank you.
Okay.
No extra questions or anything of that nature.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure coming here to share